Joining us right now is former Navy SEAL, author of Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, A SEAL's Story. Carl Higbee is here. Carl, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a really important book you write. I want to ask you your thoughts on what's going on in Paris, first off.
Well, I think this is just, this is the 6th attack in less than 3 years they've had over there, and yet they have this terrorist watch list over there. It's very different from how, there's actually a definition of how you get on their terrorist watch list. And a lot of them, I think it's like 70% of them, are not even citizens. What are they still doing there? Get them out. I don't understand. France has not been proactive about stopping this stuff.
Is it because they don't have a plan for borders? They don't know who's in and out? I mean, I mean, you're right. 6 attacks in a very short period of time.
Their plan rests in accommodation and appeasement. They're not interested in taking this issue head on. They continue to believe that if you allow them to exist and you're nice to them and you try to help them integrate to your society, that they'll leave you alone. But this is obviously not the case. And if they can't understand this, what's it going to take?
But there are people out there right now that are saying, this is an indicator that we're going to have the same kind of thing happening here. I was on, last night we were having this conversation, and I thought, well, they have a totally different security issue there. They have a totally different way of dealing with it. Do you think that this is something that we should be concerned about here right now?
Absolutely, I think we should. I mean, look, this is the path of the refugee crisis. It's moving through Europe. It's coming over here. It's already started to come over here, not to the degree as it is in France. But the issue, the fundamental difference, what sets America apart from France, is we are not as soft a target. We have the Second Amendment. A lot of people carry their gun. Like, if you catch me out on any given day in Connecticut, I'm carrying a gun, and it would be a bad day if they tried to shoot me up.
Wow.
So,
it's more than just borders, though, in France. I mean, aren't there areas, Dagan, in Paris that there are like no-go areas because even the cops don't want to go because, I mean, certain people who have come to the country, they don't assimilate.
Right, and that's something that is nearly impossible at this point for France or even other countries that are struggling with it. You've had a similar problem in Britain, for example. It was the government-sanctioned multiculturalism, where you have groups of people, large Muslim communities, where they all live together and they continue a specific way of life, and they are not
Sharia
assimilated.
law.
And they are not assimilated into the rest of the culture, and it's something that they will continue to struggle with, both just from a broad national perspective, but also from a security standpoint.
Right. And the other thing, too, is what large parts of the Muslim communities that are moving into these areas are doing. They're not doing anything illegal. It's a takeover, but it's not illegal. They're moving in. Right. They're building up these communities. People who are not of their culture leave, so you're left with these things like we have in Dearborn, Michigan, like we have over there in France with the no-go zones.
But if they're practicing Sharia law, which is no respect for women, I mean, is that...
Well, that is illegal.
That is illegal.
But the thing is, it's not being enforced against it because, again, they've created their own community and nobody's policing it.
The terrorists in Brussels came out of these Muslim communities outside of Brussels. That's where, again, it's a breeding ground for potential terrorist.
That's a good way to put it, breeding ground. It's absolutely right. Let me switch gears and ask you about North Korea, because we've got new concerns now that North Korea is preparing for another nuclear test. The leadership there said it. South Korea is on heightened alert this morning as Kim Jong-un's regime prepares to mark the 85th anniversary of the Korean People's Army. China was also put its bombers on high alert as well ahead of this anniversary, and Defense Secretary James Mattis spoke about it last night.
Their word has not proven honest. It's been provocative. They've not lived up to any statements they've made in the past. I would just take their words at the same value we've always given them, as we've learned not to trust them.
And yet the words are pretty frightening. North Korea state media said, quote, I want you to react to this, Carl. This is what the media is saying. A super mighty preemptive strike will reduce the U.S. to ashes. Is there any weight to these comments coming out of state media in North Korea?
They can't be brushed off, but like Secretary Mattis said, he does have a point there. They don't have they have a 700,000 person standing army, but that's pretty much almost the majority of their resources from their economy are going to that. I don't think they have the resources to launch a full-scale attack, but they do have the potential to launch a Pearl Harbor style attack. We are facing the same threat in North Korea as we were with Japan during World War II, and I think it needs to be taken very seriously, because if we're purely defensive on this, we're going to end up with another Pearl Harbor.
Do you think that China is going to be an ally of ours of some sort in that region?
Well, they have to, and so does South Korea, because here's the thing, is like, we're not going to go in there and occupy them and rebuild their nation like we tried to do in Iraq. South Korea and China are going to have to absorb the junk from their economy if that leadership falls. So, I mean, they're going to have to play a huge part in it.
Yeah. We'll be watching. Thank you so much for your insights this morning, Carl. Carl Higby joining us there.